Have you ever prayed and it felt like nothing happened? You've prayed for healing, nothing. You prayed for peace, nothing. You prayed for God to answer, silence. If you feel like your prayers are never getting answered or are never working, then you're not alone. But what if the problem isn't that God isn't listening? What if the problem is He's doing something that you cannot see? One of the biggest lies we can believe is that God's silence means God isn't listening. But that simply isn't true. The Bible tells us that God hears the prayers of His people. Just because you haven't seen the answer yet doesn't mean God has ignored your prayer. Sometimes we confuse God's silence with God's absence, and they're not the same thing. We live in a world where everything happens instantly. We expect answers immediately, but God isn't in a hurry. Think about Abraham. He waited years for God's promise. Joseph waited years before God fulfilled His plan. David waited years before becoming king. Waiting has always been part of God's work and plans, not because He's slow, but because He's preparing us. Sometimes we ask God to remove the storm, but instead He teaches us to trust Him in it. Sometimes we ask Him to change our circumstances, but He chooses to change our hearts first. God's answer isn't always yes. Sometimes it's wait, or sometimes it's no, and sometimes it's I have something better. Because God sees the end from the beginning. He knows what we don't. Jesus told His followers to keep praying and never give up. Not because prayer changes God's character, but because prayer changes ours. Every prayer draws us closer to Him, even when we don't immediately see the answer. Faith is trusting God before you do. If it feels like prayer isn't working, don't quit. Keep praying, keep trusting, and keep seeking. Because His silence does not mean He has abandoned you. He is still working, even when you don't understand anything. And one day, you'll understand. And that's something Jesus promises. The prayers you thought God ignored were the very prayers He answered in His time. So keep praying, because your Father, God, hears you.